Good morning. I'm Jacque Keats, the Chief Operating Officer of SMA, and it is truly an honor to stand here before you today as the keynote speaker for Women's History Month 2024. Since 1995, the designation of March as Women's History Month by President Ronald Reagan was a powerful recognition for the contributions women have made in American society. Many of you are familiar with my family, as I often share glimpses of them during our town hall meetings. I'm proud of the strong and inspiring women in my life. My 93-year-old mother has shared her Norman Rockwell collection with the town hall. Since my father worked for Carroll Shelby at his automotive company, my sisters and I are car buffs, having grown up in a time when the hills and roads in LA and Riverside County were open and available for fun. My wife and I have been married for 43 years. We support each other's careers, and she has an incredibly busy professional life as well. My daughter is an amazing young lady, having just joined the Kentucky Police Force, as well as becoming self-sufficient through her family farm, showcasing her resilience and determination. And then there's my spirited granddaughter, who undoubtedly possesses the potential to follow in my footsteps one day. Throughout my career, I've had the privilege of collaborating with remarkable women whose talent and dedication have personally inspired me and enriched every project they worked on. At SMA, we take great pride in our commitment to gender diversity and inclusivity. In the last year, we have hired 5 new employees on our professional staff. The best candidates were all women. In fact, we have always had a balanced representation of women and men on our operating and BD team. As you know, we have a large, diverse associate pool. We have removed gender bias in all aspects of our talent pool, but most importantly, compensation. We strive for the same balance for our summer internship program as well, which includes candidates from the United Way program. Furthermore, SMA supports various initiatives to foster an equitable society. We've committed to be the primary sponsor of the annual APMP Women's Summit for 10 years, and this is our 3rd year, 7 more to go, and more. Recognizing the importance of community partnership, we support a local organization named Laura's House dedicated to assisting women in need. We are currently sponsoring programs at Claremont University, and we have female members of our professional staff attending higher education there with our tuition reimbursement program. As I pass the microphone to AJ for his insights on Women's History Month, let me offer a round of applause to our talented women in our workforce.
Thank you for your thoughts, Jacque, and the information regarding female representation in our staff. We do have a very dynamic group of women here at SMA.
Indeed.
Now, there's more to our inclusive and equitable story here at SMA. 7 years ago, you might remember, we began to completely revise how we assign people to projects with a fully transparent talent on-demand system, which we call TOD. TOD has allowed us to ensure equitable pay across our entire associate community and equal opportunity to all project roles.
Well, AJ, as we hand the microphone over to the business development team to hear about new project opportunities, I've asked each of them to begin by sharing which remarkable woman in history have inspired them. Let's start with the ever so dynamic Heather Kirkpatrick. Over to you, Heather.
And a woman that has inspired me is Melba Patilla Beals. And 30 years ago, I heard her speak, and she talked about her book, Warriors Don't Cry. And Melba was one of the Little Rock Nine that integrated Central High. And the civil rights journey that we have been on in this country is amazing if you think about it. What we haven't had and what we fought for, and the women that have stepped forward to take a step, to risk, to battle that fear and do something. That's what really inspired me. I heard Melba talk about her experiences when she was 16, being spit on when she was going to Central High, being threatened with her life. And she did this along with the other 8 courageous individuals to integrate the schools. And so like that was in the 1960s. And so now we're in the 2024s. And so again, like 30 years ago when I was 17, like hearing these stories and thinking, what was I going to do? And again, like what impact can we make? And again, Melba, part of that Little Rock Nine, since then is a accomplished journalist and a civil rights warrior. And she's also been one of the 300 in the country to be awarded the Congressional Gold Medal of Honor. So that like particularly Melba, has inspired me for the past 30 years of the courageous things that she stood for back in the 60s as a young Black woman that that I don't think that I can ever participate or experience something like that. But what I can do is I can take forward that strong convictions. And just one of the main things in her as she moved forward was that she was a woman and she was strong and that she had love surrounding her even in very difficult and challenging times.
Hi, and happy spring, everybody. A woman that's really inspired me from history is actually Marie Curie. At a time when ladies were experiencing really significant bias in most fields of work, she was not only successful, but really inspirational. Her work in science and chemistry on radiologic elements and uses for them in the medical field were really pioneering. At the same time, she never lost her sense of identity as a Polish immigrant and as a woman. Even as a child, I was fascinated by what she was able to accomplish in her lifetime. So if you haven't seen the movie on Amazon, it's a really great look at her life and her accomplishments. I definitely recommend it. See if you're as inspired as I am.
Hi, everyone. I'm Patty Malhabor here in Irvine, California. One woman in history who has inspired me is Corazon Aquino, who was the 11th president of the Philippines. Not only was she the first female president of the Philippines, but also was a prominent figure in the 1986 People Power Revolution, which ended the 2-decade rule of President Ferdinand Marcos and led to the establishment of the current democratic Fifth Philippine Republic. So she's known as the mother of democracy in the Philippines, as she helped create a new constitution. And I was actually there in the Philippines when she was in power and witnessed the coup as I saw tanks roll by.
Women that I admire. I'm going to start, I said women, so I'm going to start with Jennifer Purcell. I'm going to go with Melissa, Holly, Maureen, without whom nothing would get done. I'm also going to name off the women in special projects, Liz, Susanna, and Sophie. That actually just came to me. That's kind of just top of mind. I went with Abigail Adams, who was John Adams' most significant advisor. Abigail Adams shares something along with Barbara Bush. You know what that is? And since everybody's quiet, they can't talk to me. But what it is they were both married to and gave birth to a president of the United States. Now, Abigail Adams was also big into women's rights. And she was an anti-slavery person as well. So she is a woman that I do admire, although not as much as the women of SMA. Now, in honor of Women's History Month, I think it's absolutely necessary that we need to do away with the name Todd, because that is way too male. And so we need to call it DOT, Demand Our Talent.
I chose as the woman who is inspiring, really based on my background, technical background, and my role in this industry, Israel's Prime Minister Golda Meir. And Maggie Thatcher would be included in this as well, I suppose. And the reason I did is they were both women who, at the time they took leadership of their respective countries, had to project a lot of strength and defend their countries in times of war. Not that necessarily because you do that, you are pro-war, but you need to be pro-defense and a strong defense. And both of those women clearly showed their abilities to lead their countries through times of crisis. So I would view them as the women that most inspired me as a young man, especially as I was growing up. But I also want to put a mention into my own mom, who none of you know except my son. But my mom was born at a time when women were destined to become housewives and be in the home. But when she hit her mid-30s, she decided to go out and get her education. And 5 years later, she had a master's degree and the year after that was teaching at a local college in Los Angeles. So she really is an example of a woman with tremendous potential who finally realized it a little bit later than perhaps women of today. But I certainly, for my family and others, maybe a few others, she would be an inspiration for what you can do at later times in your life.
I am based out of Southeast Louisiana. I'm Ryan Sherman. When I think about remarkable women in history, I'm thinking about Ida Lewis of the U.S. Lighthouse Service, which actually became a part of the U.S. Coast Guard in 1939. Ida served as the sole keeper of Lime Rock Light off the coast of Newport, Rhode Island for 58 years. That work started when she was 12, by the way. And during that time, she was credited with saving 18 lives from her rowboat and was the sole female recipient of the Gold Life-Saving Medal up until the year 2020, which earned her the nickname, the bravest woman in America. My favorite quote of hers, when responding to criticism that it was unladylike for women to row boats, she said, "None but a donkey would consider it unfeminine to save lives." So if you're not familiar with her story, I strongly suggest you look her up.
Ryan Osborne here, saving the best for last, of course. One lady that I've really grown to appreciate, and you all know her very well from our town halls, would be Frida Kahlo. Since we recently featured her in our art talk, I'll spare you from her well-known cultural impact. But I have had the recent pleasure of visiting the Frida Kahlo Museum at her old house in Mexico City about 2 years ago. It was a great experience. I definitely recommend it to anyone that's interested. Mexico City has been debated as one of the food capitals of the world. So if that sways anybody's mind, start planning your itinerary now, I suggest.
In conclusion, as we commemorate Women's History Month, let us not only celebrate the remarkable achievements of women throughout history, but also reaffirm our commitment to promoting gender equality and diversity in all aspects of society. The stories of the extraordinary women in our life, coupled with the strides SMA has taken towards fostering inclusivity and empowerment, serve as reminders of the invaluable contributions women make to our communities and workplaces every day.
Together, let's all continue to champion equality, support for one another's aspirations, and work towards a future where every individual, regardless of gender, can thrive and succeed. I want to personally thank Maureen, Jenny, Holly, Melissa, Susanna, Sophie, Patty, Liz, Patricia, Sarah, Lexi, Heather, Andrea, Tanya, Pauline, Patricia Ventura, Shanat, and of course, all of our female associates. Bye until next
Bye
week.
next week.